In this video, we're going to learn how to create a bar chart visualization as part of an HTDAP program. We will start with the beginning of a program that we designed in previous videos. I will keep the planning steps and make systematic changes to these steps where necessary so that our program can create a bar chart. A bar chart is a visual representation of categorical data and, as such, often does not have an x-axis that is ordered. For this example, we'll first plot a bar chart of BC's interprovincial migration where we are using the years as the categories, so our x-axis will be ordered. Once we've completed this bar chart, we'll add in a second bar for each year to show the international migration as well. Step 1A does not change as our file still contains the same information. Step 1B needs to be updated as we need to add our bar chart as a possible program output and choose it as our goal. Our overall goal will be to create a bar chart of BC's interprovincial and international migration. It's no longer phrased as a question, but does capture our goal for the program design. In step 1C, I need to update my example. Previously, when our programs produced a non-visual answer, we could write our example in the form of an expect, which was sufficient to show what type and form of answer we expected our program to output. When our program will create a visualization, like our bar chart, we want to write an expect and draw an example of what our program will produce. I like to hand draw the examples, although you could use a drawing program on your computer if you prefer. Once you've hand drawn the example, you can take a picture of it and then insert the image into your markdown cell using the Edit menu, Insert Image option. The purpose of the example is to think about what we want the graph to look like. We are not trying to draw the exact output. In other words, you should not worry about finding all the exact data points and drawing the exact bars that you expect. Instead, focus on what each axis will represent and what a rough shape of an output graph might be. You can see here that I considered the axes. I chose colors and added a legend because for each year we'll have 2 bars. But then my drawing is not perfect. It's not perfectly to scale, but it does give us a sense of what our output graph should look like. We also need to update our expect. From the previous program, our expect is expecting a numerical answer for the result of main. Every time our program is producing a graph or chart, it will show the graph or chart and the return value will be none. So main will call a function that produces our bar chart and return none. So now we have both an example in the form of an expect that shows us what input our main function needs to take and what output we expect, and we have our hand-drawn visual example. For step 2B, the data definitions that we built in the previous example do not include the interprovincial and international migration, so we need to update them. As a quick reminder of what we're starting with, we have a compound to store a year's population change and a list of these population changes. We need to update the population change compound to include the interprovincial and international migration, and we'll work systematically through the steps of the How to Design Data Definitions recipe to make this change. First, we'll change the data type definition to include the interprovincial and international migration and their types. Both the interprovincial and international migration are integers. We're counting individuals. We do not need to include ranges because it's possible for these numbers to be positive, which would be more people moving to BC than out of BC, or negative, more people moving out of BC than into BC. Next, we need to update the interpretation to include the interprovincial and international migration. To update the examples, I have looked at the information in the CSV file and have updated examples to copy and paste in. Finally, we need to update the template. Nothing needs to change in our list type. Since we updated our data definitions, our read function for step 2b also needs a slight update. We now need to read in the interprovincial from column 1 and international from column 2 migration and parse them as integers before we create our new population change data point. I'm going to put each of these on its own line to ensure that we don't overrun the length of the cell. Now I should run my cell. We have our previous examples. First I need to run the cell before to update the data definitions. Now I will run this cell to check that my tests run without any errors. So our read function is still working as expected with our updated data definitions.